Woman go crazy on paternity court.
Any other woman my age,
You're 13
I don't care if
me,
he's
honey.
upset or not.
It
You
doesn't
do not
matter.
sleep
He's
with
grown.
somebody
He's
who
grown,
helped you
Bernita. He's grown.
and tried sex.
It was never multiple partners,
It's
so
not
don't
a
ever
lot.
come at me like that. You asked me
It's
who did
not
I
a
have
lot.
sex
What
with
I do?
2 weeks
What I
prior.
do?
Then we had sex. I
My
had
bad,
sex with
Mom.
somebody else.
What I do? I went through
2
your
weeks
phone.
prior.
I went through your phone.
Respect to my father. Yes, you are. You a you call him a punk. You don't care if he take care of you or not. He's still your father.
Ms. Miller is probably the sort of parent no one wants to have. Today, she's in court with her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Rasmussen, to argue that he isn't the father of her baby. She says the real father is nowhere to be found, and she wants Mr. Rasmussen to stop acting like he's Zaylee's father. Mr. Rasmussen, on the other hand, believes that Ms. Miller is just doing all of this because she hates him and wants to have revenge on him for cheating on her.
Your Honor, I believe it's just out of pure hatred. She just doesn't want me to have visitation. I drive 160 miles every other weekend just to pick up my daughter.
Well, here's a piece of advice, Mr. Rasmussen. If you don't want a woman to hate you, you probably shouldn't cheat on her. Interestingly, Ms. Miller says she doesn't hate me, Rasmussen. She says she's just lost her respect for him and doesn't care about him either way. She also says the reason why he wants to be Zaylee's father is because he needs her for tax breaks. But if Zaylee were just a money-saving scheme for Mr. Rasmussen, he wouldn't drive 160 miles both ways just to see her, would he?
Child support, I have my child support payments right here, plus an additional $3 fee, plus an additional $60 annual fee just to pay my child support.
You pay $50 a week.
Just under $50 a week. Plus that $3 with every check, plus another $60 every year to the state.
And that's not a lot of money, but it's certainly enough to take care of a 3-year-old. But according to Mr. Rasmussen, that doesn't happen at all. Ms. Miller dresses Zaylee in the worst clothes and always leaves her in diapers instead of potty training her. Ms. Miller denies this and calls me Rasmussen a liar. Then Judge Lauren decides to get to the bottom of this issue to figure out why Mr. Rasmussen couldn't possibly be the father.
She was conceived in March of 2011. He wasn't even in the same state. He was in Vegas. And at that time in March, I wasn't even with him. I was with somebody else because he broke up with me because he cheated on me.
I'll be the first to admit it was a mistake.
But even if this is true, Mr. Rasmussen must have been told that Zaylee was his. He probably didn't swoop in on the day of delivery to carry the child away. He was told that he was the biological father of the baby by Ms. Miller. So he did his duty, supported them financially, and even gave the child his last name. However, 5 to 6 months later, Ms. Miller changed her mind.
Her doctor and all that. And Ms. Miller brings it up that I could possibly not be the father because of another man that was involved. And she gave some date, I can't remember the specifics. One of the people we were talking to with the family court commissioner did the math, and it turns out that would be a 10-month pregnancy.
Ms. Miller says she was confused about the dates, but she went through Facebook posts and things she'd written down, and finally discovered that she'd given the wrong date in family court. Importantly, the actual date she slept with another man is around the same time Zaylee was conceived.
I was at my job as a cashier. I got a phone call and I answered it. They said she was going into labor. I said, okay. I hung up the phone. I quickly finished up as fast as I could with that particular customer. I turned off my checkout light, told the next customer in line that something came up. I either had to go to another line.
It seems like Mr. Rasmussen loves his family and will do anything to keep them together. The fact that they are on paternity court today shows the lengths he's willing to go for his family.
Went home, quickly changed my clothes, and I drove about 45 miles through a winded, wooded road in Wisconsin in December, mind you, so it was about a foot of snow on the ground. I made it to that hospital in less than 35 minutes. I beat her to the hospital, and I was there from the moment she got there to the moment she was discharged.
That's an amazing story. But Ms. Miller says it's a complete lie. She says that while she was in labor, he was just there sitting on his computer, not minding her. But if Ms. Miller feels this way, why did she allow Mr. Rasmussen to write his name on the birth certificate? Well, the answer is that she hoped they would get engaged and married. But her mind changed when 3 months later his friend told her about his numerous flings with other women. So where is the other possible father?
I'm not even quite sure. After we broke up, he changed his number, he moved, he pretty much disappeared. I have tried to find him, I have tried to get a hold of him, and
Ms. Miller says that around the time she conceived Zany, she wasn't even dating Mr. Rasmussen. Instead, they were just seeing each other casually because Mr. Rasmussen was in another relationship. And shockingly, even Ms. Miller didn't know that at the time.
Arrangements, but you know deep down there's another possible father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why wait so long to tell him?
I told him the first time that we had a court date, but the courts threw it out.
Even
DNA
before
test-
you tell anybody in court. What about just telling him?
That's right. If Ms. Miller knew that there was another possible father even before the child was born, why didn't she tell Mr. Rasmussen beforehand? It looks like she was perfectly willing to deceive him for life as long as he was willing to marry her and stay faithful to her. That's a terrible thing to do.
The more she grew up, the more I started noticing more of her features, the more she started looking like the other guy.
She looks exactly like I did when I was 3 years old. I have a picture of me when I was 3 and a picture of her from just the other day.
Let me see that. Will you?
That may be true, but picture resemblance isn't a DNA test. The fact that someone resembles another person doesn't make them their blood relative.
Are insisting that Mr. Rasmussen is not the child's father, and yet you're receiving child support from Mr. Rasmussen. Have you petitioned the court to have Mr. Rasmussen taken off of child support?
I have told him a couple times that if he would just sign her over to me, that he wouldn't have to pay child support anymore.
I'm not going to do that.
That seems mighty convenient, Ms. Miller. Receiving child support and spending it while claiming that the child in question doesn't belong to the person providing that support is an extraordinary thing to do. The question now is, has Mr. Rasmussen prepared himself for what may happen if the test happens to show he isn't Zany's father?
In a sense, yes. If it goes the way I'm hoping and I know in my heart that it will, that she is mine, I'm just going to be overjoyed that all the...
But what if it goes the other way, and the DNA test proves that Zany really isn't his and belongs to someone else?
If it goes the other way, I don't think if I had all the time in the world, I could, prepare myself for such a bombshell. I don't think I'd be able to prepare myself for just how devastating that would be to not only me, but my entire family.
Now let's find out who the real father is. Is Mr. Rasmussen Zany's dad, or does this child belong to another man who's never been present in her life?
In the case of Miller versus Rasmussen, when it comes to 3-year-old Zaylee Rasmussen, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father.
Do you see that celebrating? The way she's happy that her child doesn't belong to a man who's risking everything and providing everything to be with her? Do you think that's normal? Thankfully, Judge Lauren doesn't think it's normal either.
You just showed me where your priorities were right there.
I'm sorry.
Because I held out hope that you weren't just acting a fool because you so mad at him because he cheated on you that you would cheat your child out of a father. But that cheering you did, what you cheering? I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for?
Exactly. There are so many women on paternity court who hope that their partners could be half as responsible as Mr. Rasmussen and never get it. We have an exciting case here today. Ms. Orr is insulted that Mr. Taylor is even asking for a paternity test. She believes he should just accept her kid as his and be done with it. Mr. Taylor, on the other hand, says this makes no sense. He argues that his relationship with Ms. Orr was merely a 2-week fling that ended and couldn't have possibly spawned a baby. Well, Mr. Taylor may be about to find out that it just takes one time to make a baby.
I have tried to get a DNA test from the moment I found out about Eric, and she has denied it, dodged it every which way she can. Like, she's argued with me, said that he looks just like me. Why would I need DNA?
Ms. Orr says if Mr. Taylor needs a DNA test, he should be the one to get it done. She also says that her child looks like him, so why would he even need a DNA test? She then says that she met Mr. Taylor on a dating site and they became intimate the very first time they met. And guess what? They didn't use a condom for the first time either. That's the sort of risk-taking that you just know gets you right on paternity court. No questions.
Mr. Taylor, you said the relationship lasted 2 weeks.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how many times did you have sex within that 2-week span?
I had sex with her for like that week, and I had sex with her a couple more times the next week. And then...
He kept coming back. We done slept with each other maybe more than 10 times.
No, Your Honor.
10 times in 2
Then that's when I found out I was
No,
pregnant.
Your Honor.
10 times? Okay, that's more than enough to get someone pregnant. That's a lot more than enough times. Again, guys, getting pregnant only happens one time. A lot of people come to paternity court to claim that they couldn't be a father because they only had intercourse once. But that doesn't matter. It only takes one time.
Was Mr. Taylor the only man you were intimate with, Ms. Orr?
There's other men, but at the time, Mr. Taylor was the only one that I slept with when I was off my birth control.
No, Your Honor.
Darren, when I got pregnant around.
So Mr. Taylor slept with Miss Orr more than 10 times, didn't use protection, and she was off her birth control? Come get your kid, Mr. Taylor. There's a very huge chance that he's yours.
I realized when I was pregnant when I went to my doctor's appointment, September the 1st
Okay.
of 2016.
And when you realize you're pregnant, do you tell Mr. Taylor? Do you call him? Are you all
Yes,
still
I
even
call.
in contact?
No, Your
I
Honor.
call
You
him,
were
I
not in
contact him.
Mr. Taylor immediately asks for a DNA test once Ms. Orr tells him she's pregnant. She also says that she told him that the baby could be his and not that the pregnancy was his. But Mr. Taylor says that's a lie, and Ms. Orr has always told him that he's the father of her baby.
He has ran from the DNA. If it's such doubt and everything, if he is mine, why do you run from a DNA test? I do not
Mr.
know.
Taylor also told me to take him to court. That's why we're here today, because I'm the one taking him to court.
This is all just so messy. The fact that Ms. Orr is in court shows that she wants to know who the father of her child is. That shows that she isn't running from a DNA test, as Mr. Taylor claims.
Yes, but I did not agree to them terms, no, because I myself knew of 3 other different possibilities.
No,
she had
there's
been
no
with.
other free
It's conception,
possibility.
not a contract. Jerome, he said he did not agree to those terms.
Mr. Taylor says he thinks he's one of the possible fathers, and that's why he's in court today. He also says that Ms. Orr only told him about the baby being born a week after. Why was she waiting for a week? Was she just trying to decide what man to pin the baby on? Or did she call all the other men and they refused to take responsibility? Is Mr. Taylor her last chance at tying down a father for her baby?
My son was born 6 weeks early, and I was gonna wait till Eric got out the hospital.
Okay, but
No,
still,
Your Honor.
it took a whole week
Yes.
for you to get in contact with him?
Yes, he's
For you to
lucky,
tell
lucky
him-
that I even told him because he wasn't there during the pregnancy or none of my doctor's appointments.
Okay, so wait.
Mr. Taylor was also told that there was another man in her room when she had the child. Ms. Orr says there was another guy, but he was only a friend. Do you really believe that? Ms. Orr says this guy was supposed to be the godfather of her son. But here's the question. How did she find time to notify the godfather, but not the actual father?
Because the nurses was talking to me at the time. I couldn't really talk to my family members.
The nurses
Then
were talking to you for a week straight?
Telling me everything, pretty much.
I don't know if she testifying right now or testifying, but we'll see in a minute.
Mr. Taylor intends to be in the life of little baby Eric if he's actually the father. He says he's not running from his responsibilities and is willing to stay in the child's life. He even brings pictures that he posted on Facebook showing that he loves and cares for Eric.
Doubt.
Because she told me to take the pictures of her son off Facebook. Your Honor, she's basically harassed me that this is nothing but my child.
Well, that makes sense. Ms. Orr is being crafty here. If she thinks the child is Mr. Taylor's, why does she harass him to take pictures of the child off Facebook? Ms. Orr says she said that because Mr. Taylor was still asking for a DNA test while he was posting all those pictures. To make things even spicier, Ms. Orr sent Mr. Taylor a collage of his pictures and those of another man and compared it to her baby. Why did she do this? Just to show that her baby didn't look like another man.
Let him know Eric does not look like another man.
Where'd you pull this man out of? Thin air?
No, Your Honor. That is one of my ex.
That's one way to plant a massive seed of doubt in a man's mind. That's just an extremely crazy thing to do. Let's find out who's telling the truth between these two. Mr. Taylor, or Ms. Orr?
Comes to 6-week-old Eric Orr. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Taylor, you are not the father.
Ms. Foster is in paternity court to prove that Mr. Jackson is the father of her daughter, Jakaya. She says that they both planned the pregnancy, and now he is acting brand new by trying to abandon her. Mr. Jackson denies this and says that nothing like that happened. He also says that he isn't Jakaya's father.
Because, Your Honor, I have a 1-year-old child who we plan on having. She looks like him.
Beautiful.
She acts like him. He doesn't step up to nothing. I mean, he's posted pictures on social media.
That's not my baby.
He just gives me nothing.
Well, that's horrible. If you're posting your kids on social media, the least you can do is take care of them. Ms. Foster says she met Mr. Jackson through social media and that she'd had her first child before meeting him. But he introduced that child to his mother as his.
To his mother's house, but he was claiming my first child knowing she wasn't his baby, but then when we planned a baby, he doesn't deny this child at all.
Wait. I want to understand this. So this first baby was not his biological child.
Correct.
But he took you home to his mother like, look at my girlfriend and our baby.
Correct.
Ms. Foster says that Mr. Jackson always wanted her to be the mother of his baby because she's the best mother in the world. Mr. Jackson calls this a big fat lie and says that he never said this. He also had more interesting things to say.
It was her brother. It was a dude she was sleeping with.
Correct, Your Honor. It definitely was.
Basically what the story was, she already came to my house pregnant by her so-called brother.
Now this is getting confusing. Ms. Foster says that while she was living at Mr. Jackson's house, he had another woman he was dating and was basically two-timing both of them. She said after a while he left her at his mother's house, and that's when she realized that she was pregnant with her second kid.
Talking in a relationship with him, and when I found out he was in a relationship with the other female, I went to go continue doing me with the Marquise gentleman that could be the alleged father as well. I was sleeping with both guys, and I mean, you had 2 girlfriends, well, I can't have 2 boyfriends.
I call.
Oh!
So Ms. Foster lied to Mr. Jackson that she had a brother who wasn't a brother and was sleeping with him at the same time she was sleeping with Mr. Jackson. And that makes sense. Why wouldn't she cheat on a cheat? If Mr. Jackson felt like cheating on her, she would cheat on him too. And oh, this person Ms. Foster is sleeping with? He also became Mr. Jackson's friend.
So you think you in a relationship, but she's sleeping with your friend?
Yes, at
No,
my
Your
mama's
Honor.
house.
No, Your Honor. We
Yes,
were not
you were.
together when he left. We were not together.
But you still in my
after
mama's house
February
when I
21st.
left, though, you feel me?
That's pointless. I mean, that matters nothing to me.
How many times I was
mean,
like,
you left, you
kick
brought
her
me
out.
her, you left
But
to
her
go
and my
be with
mama
somebody
get back
else.
cool.
Ms. Foster never wanted to get pregnant. When she found out she was pregnant, she was devastated. That's because Mr. Jackson was out of her life, and so was the father of her first baby. She didn't want that for herself. Immediately she got the news, she told the other guy that he could be the father and Mr. Jackson could also be the father. But she later got convinced that it had to be Mr. Jackson.
Got pregnant February 21st. That's the same day you left. So that week and that week before, I had a menstrual period. We're sleeping together the entire time. While I'm on in the shower every night, every day, 3 times a day.
So that's why she thinks he's the father. Well then, that's it. That means Mr. Jackson is definitely the father, right, if she's so sure about it. No one can argue about it.
But didn't you also admit you were having sex with both guys? Because if he could have 2 girlfriends, you could have 2 boyfriends?
By me going to medical school, I kind of know what I'm talking about as far as the female reproductive system.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Yes,
I
ma'am.
wish you would have known so much about what you was talking about that you would have known who your child's father was.
I mean, I
okay.
was, but
So,
I
but
mean,
go ahead. But go ahead, honey. Go ahead. School up.
Exactly. Anyway, Ms. Foster stands by this argument. She continues to say that during the window of conception, she didn't have intercourse with anyone else apart from Mr. Jackson, and that's why she's so sure that he's the father. Great logic, Ms. Foster. Now let's find out if it's true.
Listen. You are not the father.
What's funny, Ms. Foster? A while ago, she was taking us to school and telling us about her knowledge about the reproductive system, but now she can't do anything but laugh at the mess she's found herself in. Extraordinary.